Okay. All right. Well, hello, Instagram world. So this is a really exciting day for the Wild Prairie Winds. We have an amazing guest, which is actually 5 people. We are hosting the Civitasolis. Is that how you say it?
Civitasolis.
Civitasolis. I knew it was going to be the other one. The
The tricky
Civitasolis
one.
Reed Quintet. And we have all sorts of wonderful questions that we want to ask them, and we want to learn more about them as an ensemble. You learned about us, the Wild Prairie Winds, last week, but just to give you a reminder, we're based out of Iowa. We're 5 members, all who met through the University of Iowa, and we're actually now officially a nonprofit through the state of Iowa. We'll have a lot of exciting releases about that, but it is really exciting. That was our news from last week during our chat. So basically, this whole happy hour with Civitasolis was put together between me and their their high clarinet. Is that how you just the one that does it?
Close enough.
Amy and I met last summer. We lived together for 2 weeks in a cabin working at Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp out in Michigan. And so we both are part of these ensembles. And as we were, and we'll talk more about what our ensembles have been doing during this COVID time, but we as Wild Prairie Winds were really inspired what they were doing on their social media. And I messaged Amy and I was like, hey, like, would your group want to join us and do something like that? And she was like, yeah, of course. Like, that's like a great idea. And so here we are. So thank you guys so much. And right now, viewers, you can see all of us on the chat. Notice that our bassoon player, Sean, is not with us today, but he's with us in spirit. But let's move on to Civitasolis. I would love to have you guys kind of go through and introduce yourselves individually and say what you play, since the Reed Quintet may not be as common knowledge about the instrumentation as our regular wind quintet. Let us know where you are and where you're from, what schools you've gone to. And if you want to kind of give us something fun, like why did you pick your instrument or what inspired you to be a musician, that would be super great too. So I'll pass it on to the Civitasolis Reed Quintet.
So, hello everyone. Thank you for having us here, guys. Really happy. So, my name is Luis Gallo, and I'm the oboist for the Civitasolis Reed Quintet. And I just turned 23 years old last month. I am from Colombia, and I did my undergrad at Northwestern State University of Louisiana, where I spent about 5.5 years doing this. Currently, I live in Tallahassee, Florida, where I'm pursuing my master's in music performance at Florida State University. And why did I pick the oboe? So I remember before starting music, I wanted to be a soccer player. And then in my high school, we did a music test to see if we had like the talent to pursue music. And I remember I passed it and I didn't want to be in music. But then the next year when they took all the class to know all the instruments, to listen to them, the professors were playing for us. I remember the one I liked the most because of the sound and because of its size. And also I thought it was cheap, it was the oboe. So these were the reasons why I picked this instrument.
Hey everyone. Thanks again for watching, and thanks for Wild Prairie Winds for having us. My name's Amy Humbard, and like Katie said, I'm the clarinetist in Civitasolis. I'm originally from a town called Cleveland, Tennessee, which is near Chattanooga. I just completed my doctorate at Florida State University in clarinet performance. Before that, I was in Bloomington, Indiana, where I got my master's and performer's diploma also in clarinet performance. And my undergraduate degrees are from Lee University, which is a really small school in Tennessee. My undergrad degrees are in music education and psychology. I'm also currently in Tallahassee. My fiance is completing his last semester of his doctorate, so we will both be done then. And like Katie said, we met at Blue Lake Fine Arts Camp, where I'm on the faculty. and hopefully we'll get to be roommates maybe again next summer.
Party.
Go Blue Lake family. And I originally picked up the clarinet in middle school. My mom played clarinet and piano until she was in college, so I kind of gravitated that way pretty naturally. Although originally I wanted to be a rebel and play the flute. But my middle school band director, even though I actually tested higher on the flute, knew my mom because they worked at the same school where she taught algebra. And so he really insisted that I do the clarinet, and then I loved it. So here I am.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having us. My name is Beth King-Bennett, and I am the saxophonist in the group. Let's see, previous schools. I got my bachelor's of music ed from DePauw University. It's a small liberal arts school in Indiana, DePauw with a W, not with an L, not the one in Chicago. I like to specify that. And then I got my master's from University of Iowa, go Hawkeyes, woo. And then I am, thanks guys. I am finishing up my doctorate at Florida State, and I am teaching at a small college, Pola College, which is about an hour away from us in Marianna, Florida. Let's see, why did I choose the saxophone? Because it's obviously the coolest instrument. So there, yeah, Bridget's shaking her head. They wanted me to play bassoon, but I was like, no, thank you. I'm going to play the saxophone.
Probably
so
good choice.
I'm very, very happy with my life choices.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lara Matovsky-News, and thank you guys so much for having us. I'm the bass clarinetist in Civitasolis, and I did my undergrad at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, and I also studied at the Peabody Conservatory of Music. And I got my master's at Colorado State University, and now I'm doing my doctorate at Florida State University, going into my third year. And I'm from New Jersey as well. Let's see, I picked the clarinet. I played piano originally, and then I remember I wanted to play a wind instrument, but I did percussion because you had to like rent instruments, and my parents weren't really like a fan of that, so I just did percussion. And then I just found a teacher. Like I had a family friend who was taking clarinet lessons with a really good clarinet and sax teacher, but I decided not to go to the dark side, Beth, and I picked the clarinet. But actually, I almost picked the sax, but he said to start on clarinet, but then I just never switched over, you know. Sorry, Beth. Yeah, but thank you.
All right, and I'm gonna bring up the rear here. My name is Bridget Piccarelli. Thank you guys for having us, first of all. I'm 23 years old. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, but I currently live in Tallahassee, Florida, where I am about to enter into the second year of my master's, just like Luis. Prior to Florida State, I got my undergrad at the University of South Carolina in Columbia, South Carolina, where I got my degree in music education and a performance certificate in bassoon. Let's see, why did I choose the bassoon? Originally I played piano, and then I started band in 6th grade on the clarinet, and my teacher had a bassoon come in on loan, and we had to write a letter explaining why we wanted to play the bassoon, and I think I was the only one that did, so I got lucky enough to play the bassoon, so here we are. It's been a joy.
That's awesome. Well, so what I would love to hear from the ensemble is maybe what your mission was, what brought you together, and really what it is that you're trying to accomplish as a chamber group. And then also, we really were curious, as a wind quintet, why you chose to be a reed quintet. You know, it's something, it is a new and upcoming chamber ensemble genre, but it's unique. And so we're just kind of curious as a wind quintet, why you chose to be a reed quintet. So if you can just give us some information about your group, that would be great. I think our watchers would really enjoy that.
I'll take that one. So Civitasolis started in 2017 originally, and I think over time our missions and our goals have changed quite a bit. In a lot of ways, they're really still changing. I mean, as a group, we're evolving and changing all the time. I think every semester we meet and at least one of the goals is shifted in some way, or how we can impact our audiences is shifted in some way. One of our main goals is really to further the Reed Quintet repertoire, because like you said, it is kind of a newish ensemble, especially in comparison to a lot of more established chamber groups like the woodwind quintet or brass quintet or saxophone quartet. We've taken that on in a few different ways. We started a composition competition in 2017, and we kept that going for a couple of years. We weren't able to do it this year, but we do kind of hope to get back to that or something similar to that at some point. Our second year, we were actually able to give cash prizes, which was really nice, instead of just asking composers to hope for a premiere of their piece. And I thought overall, it was pretty successful, especially the second year. We actually got a lot more than we had anticipated, and it took us about a month to just wade through them all and play through them. One of our favorite pieces actually that we play now, called Sorry I Have to Run, is by a composer, Luke Ellard, and he's a graduate of University of North Texas. I had met him at Indiana before, where he was a clarinet performance major, and he was actually the winner of our second composition competition. So, and we still play his piece. We love it. We performed it in Carnegie last year. It's a great work. We've done it also through commissions. Lara reached out to one of the composition faculty at one of her former schools, James M. David, and he wrote us a really fantastic reed quintet called Malambo Mecanico, and we performed that in Carnegie as well. It's a great work. And then of course we're doing our Reed Quintet miniature series now. Have to put a plug in for that every time we talk. Please submit your recordings by July, or your pieces by July 1st at 11:59 p.m. So we do that kind of thing because a lot of reed quintets before us have done similar things, have written transcriptions or have commissioned their own works. And that's really led to this great body of work that we have now that we can draw on. So we really want to give back in that way too. Another goal that we have, of course, is competitions, which we've talked about before, and I think Beth might talk about a little later. We're also working on getting a tour going. Fingers crossed that at some point this pandemic ends soon and we can get our performances back on track. But we're working on getting a potential tour for the fall, or well, potentially for the spring at this point, probably, and then hopefully for the next fall. With colleges, and we've done outreach to middle schools, high schools before, so that's definitely a possibility. We've also talked at a little bit of length recently about becoming a nonprofit, and kudos to you guys for your status. That's really fantastic. Good job for getting that. Why Reed Quintet? That's a really good question. Really, it's really fun. It's a great ensemble. We blend really well together. Tuning is not a huge issue. We don't always have to ask the horn player to please play at a ridiculously soft dynamic level. But I mean,
we don't have that problem. I would like it to be known that I'm always told to play louder.
Oh, well, good. I mean, you're a fantastic horn player, but I just remember in my past experiences that was the case. Actually, I had a French horn player cry at IU because they couldn't get quiet enough for my teacher. So, but no, I mean, in 2017, the original group started, and the saxophone player of that group was the one who contacted everyone. So we already had a sax involved, so there really wasn't another option. He wanted to start a reed quintet, and he reached out to all of us. Reed Quintet definitely has some really unique repertoire, and it's just something really, really different. I had honestly never been in one before and had only heard about it about a year before I was asked to be in it. I think I heard about Acropolis through some people at IU, and I started listening to their stuff, and it was just really cool. One of the group mottos on our website is chamber music for the 21st century. And I think that's really true. Just as a whole, I think we really strive for that kind of thing specifically, because we realize that, like a lot of musicians do, things in our profession are certainly changing, and we want to make sure and change with it. For us, the Reed Quintet and chamber music in general as a larger whole is a great way to accomplish that. So I hope that answers that question a little.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I'm really curious. So one of the things that really pushed us to become a nonprofit was the fact that when we were looking for funding of like any sort, especially grants, though, I mean, it seemed like unless you were a nonprofit, you didn't qualify. And so we were just having a really hard time finding funding. So how did you guys fund a composition competition to a point where you could actually pay people?
Yeah, so I'm on mute. Yeah, okay. So we actually just had a small entry fee. So what we did is, I think it was a $10 entry fee, and we just didn't use any of that money for really anything except for paying the composers. Like, I think we had about 60 or 70 applicants, and from that $10 each, we were able to pay the winners. And then we have someone who comes to our school to record once a semester, and he records for free at FSU. So we were able to actually record their pieces for free. So then we didn't eat that money either on the back end. And then we were also able to pay them. And we asked around and didn't think that $10 was super unreasonable to ask. And I actually think we got a lot better submissions the second year, and I think some of that might have been because of the application fee.
Oh, gotcha. That's still amazing that you had 60 to 70 submissions, though. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are really interested in the Reed Quintet specifically because it is such a new ensemble, and because it doesn't have a ton of standard rep out there. I mean, really any standard rep. I mean, you could consider things like Beat 'em Bender's Refraction pretty standard at this point, but nothing's super set in stone. So I think they're really interested in composing for the group just because it's so new, because if their piece is good, a lot of Reed Quintets will play it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
A question that we were also curious, because of all these new pieces, and because, you know, there really is not anything what you would consider classical about the Reed Quintet, is how you guys program and how you choose to program, especially like you're talking about a tour coming up. Our quintet has been doing a tour now every year in the spring of Iowa, and you know, we are very, very conscious of our audience. You know, we're going into very, very small towns, and playing for people who have likely never heard an oboe or a bassoon, let alone a full wind quintet, you know, and don't probably listen to classical music or any sort of, you know, all instrumental music in general. And so we really make sure that to kind of focus in on our programming to make sure it is really accessible without being boring. You know, we've done, we've played a transcription of Dvorak's American String Quartet. We did Erica Wazen's Roaring Forks, and then we've done another piece called Red Oak Suite, which is just another kind of like easy listening pastoral work, but still written relatively recently. It was written, Red Oak was written in the 80s, I want to say. My brain kind of got lost. But anyway, so just really curious about how you guys don't scare people away. Is that, is that a terrible way of saying it?
No, that's a good question. I think Lara can answer that a little better than I can.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when programming any concert, you know, whether it's a themed concert or whether it's a particular recital for an event, a type of balance is always good. And I think the Reed Quintet fits itself really well into that because of the various Reed Quintets that came before us, such as like the Califax Reed Quintet, they have done a lot of transcriptions of classical and Baroque works, such as Bach and American in Paris, and we played some of those things. And then there's other reed quintets, such as Acropolis and Splinter, who have done a lot of commissioning. So that makes it really easier and accessible for us to put a program together that has newer works and works that would appeal to people who would prefer maybe some more classical works, and even a range of, like, there are differences in the commissioned works too, like the newer works. Some are maybe more tonal, others maybe are more atonal. So I think the reed quintet lends itself really well to programming a nice concert.
Yeah, I think to add to that, like, that's a great answer. I think to add to that, we've even considered doing things like Ligeti's Six Bagatelles, but for our group, you know, things like that. Califax has tons, like Lara said, tons of transcriptions, like the Queen of Sheba. I mean, American in Paris is one of our favorites, but they've just done so many. I mean, we can play classical repertoire in that sense, so we can balance out the program in that way. And then, like Lara said, a lot of the commissions you would think would be a lot weirder than, and maybe turn some audiences off, but like things like Splinter, which is written by Mark Mellitz, it's mostly minimalist and just really a bop. Like, that last movement's really fun. We play it in bars. We have played it in bars like several times, and the bar crowds always like it. So, and then for kids concerts, it's kind of nice because you can take them through this variety of rep while talking about the history of the reed quintet and about the reed quintet, because they don't know what a reed quintet is. I mean, a lot of times they don't know what any chamber group is, but especially a reed quintet. And then that way you can educate them on that while playing for them.
Yeah, I was going to say also, like Amy said, the diverse repertoire sort of lends itself to interacting more with the audience and explaining it to them, or even like warning them. You know, when we play Refraction, a little bit of explanation is required for the first movement, which is called Death Metal Chicken. You know, so that's sort of an interesting thing about our repertoire.
Nice. That's really cool. I mean, we definitely, I think, noticed in your on your website that you guys have some pieces listed. What was one of the ones that was like that really stood out, Jenna or Daniela? That, I think there was one that was like rock inspired or something like that. I mean, we were just like, we had no idea.
I think it was the one that Bridget just mentioned.
Yeah, that's the Death Metal Chicken one.
Yeah, because you, in your, I can't remember if it was the bio or the mission statement, you said like plays music inspired by or something, and I was like, or genres from, and then it was like classical, jazz, blah, 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 metal. And then I was like, what?
Yeah,
That's
I think
one.
Death Metal Chicken is it's the first movement of a piece called Refraction by David Biedermeier, who you guys all know, I'm sure. And it's supposed to imitate death metal, and it's like the saxophone and clarinet are trading off oboe are trading off like 16ths and 8ths that are supposed to imitate like two dueling like rock metal guitars, while like the bass line with bass clarinet and bassoon are laying down this just like really heavy like metal rhythm, da 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 da, just like the whole time, which is really fun. And then the other movements are super contrasting. The second one's a Kyrie that's based off Arvo Pärett's works and Michaud as well. So we just start off with this really nice, beautiful canon, and then we are trading off 8ths and 16ths the whole rest of the time in just this really nice kind of choral fashion. And then the third movement is it's called Goat Rodeo. And it's just really out there, but it's awesome. It's supposed to sound like a mess, basically. And it does, I think, when we play it. So.
That's good. That's great.
Was that, sorry, I just wanted to ask, was that piece an Acropolis commission? Am I thinking of that?
Yeah, it was an Acropolis commission.
I think they have a t-shirt with a chicken on it, and I just put it together that maybe that's what that means. Is that?
Yeah, they do. They have a t-shirt. We want the
Yeah.
t-shirt. We're trying.
They
We're
only
gonna
have it in extra large.
yeah,
think
we're
that-
gonna get them one day for our
I think-
tours. Sorry, Lara. Go ahead. I keep interrupting.
Yes, no worries. We should get the t-shirts for our tours. What I was going to say is I think that brings up a really good point about contemporary music when you originally asked, scaring people away. I think that as a Reed Quintet and as commissioners of new music, that gives us the opportunity to bring new music to, because a lot of it sometimes is bringing it to alternate venues, right? So that like many different kinds of people from different kinds of backgrounds can hear it. So let's say we bring it to a bar, like we have done a lot in Tallahassee. People can hear that there's different types of music being written now that actually were influenced by music that they may be really passionate about. So like if they really love death metal, they might not have heard contemporary music that takes from that style. So I think that's a really cool thing about doing a lot of commissioning.
Do you have any advice about commissioning and the experiences that you've had? I mean, we're actually we're about to embark on our first commission. That's one thing that as an ensemble, we've actually all agreed that we're very devoted into doing as we're moving forward, but we just haven't so far. And so we're actually currently working with a composer, Kim, help me.
His name is Colin Timoney.
Thank you. But because you guys are so experienced now in doing this, I mean, what advice would you give to groups that are looking to do more of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that like your people and composers are people, right? And it's a really nice and fun collaborative experience, right? And so I think it's great to be as much part of the process as you can too, like to be in touch with the composer as they're writing, and you can both influence and collaborate on what you want the piece to be like, because I think that's a really cool thing about commissioning is that you're bringing something new into the music world and you're putting your own touch on it. And then after you put your own touch on it, the hope is that it grows for that other wind quintets or other reed quintets to play it and put their own touch on it. So yeah, I would just say, I don't think it's a scary thing. I think it's more of a connecting with other people thing. And I think composers, want to hear from performers as much as performers want to play composers' music. So I don't think anyone should ever be afraid to contact a composer and see if they're interested in collaborating with you. And of course, there are different ways to sort of embark on that journey. Like you could just do it yourself. You can, there's like a lot of, there's music festivals and opportunities you can go to as well as a group or as soloists which are meant to work with composers. So that's a really good door into it as well. Yeah, and just looking for opportunities and as well as creating opportunities for yourself.
Of fun and silly questions that we want to ask you, but before we kind of move into that portion of this, do you guys have, I know as you're moving into this this chapter of competitions and whatnot, that's also something that a lot of people are nervous about. A lot of ensembles never know how to approach even thinking about applying for competitions, and it would be great to hear about your experiences as an ensemble doing those and what you have learned in terms of that process and how to best prepare.
Yeah, I can kind of talk about that. And Amy, you can back me up too, because you've had a little bit more experience in this group with competitions than I have. But for this past year, I apologize. My cat decided now is the time to start meowing. So in the past year, we've entered like 3 or 4 competitions and we've been pretty successful. We did find that our first semester, just school-wise, we weren't able to meet as often as we had wanted. We were kind of like strapped in terms of deadlines. So we kind of took it upon ourselves to like really concentrate on learning the music outside of rehearsal. So that way we'd come together and actually be able to, put things together relatively quickly. And that it was nice to kind of hold each other accountable for that. It really helped us kind of keep things moving forward. In terms of preparation, we also have like fairly regular planning meetings. And I remember in like either late December or January, we kind of all sat together before school had started and we planned out rehearsals for the rest of the semester. And those, once we planned them, were essentially set in stone. So we kind of were able to schedule, the rest of our lives around them because we decided that this was a priority that we wanted to follow in order to prepare for these competitions. And then we were pretty successful with competitions this past year. We got into a couple, and we were semi-finalists, which we were pretty proud of considering we essentially had 2 or 3 months to prepare this music. But in the future, we're kind of looking a little bit further forward than we had in the past year. So we're already thinking about rep that we want to play for Fish Off and Coltman and things that are potentially almost a year in advance. That way we have time to really like get to know our music a little bit better, kind of set out our goals and hopefully, get some stuff memorized. That was one of our goals for competitions this year. We hope it works out for us, but yeah, I think just planning ahead and actually, holding each other accountable for our goals for competitions is what really, has helped us in the past. Amy, do you have anything you wanted to add from previous years?
I completely agree. Planning, I mean, like in most everything else in life, is just like absolutely key. I think this year compared to previous years personally, I feel like we planned a little further ahead and therefore were more successful overall with our goals in general, not just competitions. I think making sure to make those rehearsals a priority is an absolute must. Coming in prepared is an absolute must. And I think too, knowing that when we're in that room together, that when someone says, hey, you're a little flat, or like you're more likely you're a little sharp, or hey, our articulation's not really matching there, or I don't think we're phrasing this the same way, it's not like a personal attack. And I think sometimes in chamber music, people as a whole can think of that as a personal attack on them because we work so hard on our individual instruments and our craft and everything. And it's like, no, I'm not sharp. Like I practice with drones all day, every day. And it may not be that you're sharp, but maybe you're sharp compared to the group, so just realizing that that's not a personal thing. And that's just when you're in that room together, practicing and rehearsing, then it's business. And I think another thing that really helped us was we started running through our rep earlier instead of just hoping we would get to the recording date and we would be able to run through it. So we started running through it like weeks in advance before we recorded it. And I think that helped us a lot. So
nice. Mm-hmm. That's pretty funny. We have a running inside joke in our quintet. We have lots of moments in our rehearsals that really just kind of deteriorate into like complete nonstop laughing. And one of them was we were rehearsing, and when we would rehearse, when school was in session, like when everything was normal, we would typically have some short, like hour-long rehearsals during the week, but then we'd have like a big chunk of like 2.5 hours on a Sunday. And on one of these Sunday rehearsals, we were rehearsing, and I can say this because Sean's not here, but we were working on something that was very difficult. I mean, I have to say, it was probably it was a piece that was going through all sorts of different time signatures. It really was. It was challenging, but there was a point where our bassoonist, Sean, was tapping his foot, I think, to try to keep himself there. And I literally was like, Sean, are you tapping what you think is the downbeat? And it was just the entire group stopped and just dissolved into tears of laughter. It was just that's just how our group is.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I think for us, those 1 hour short rehearsals were actually much more productive than the 2.5, 2 hour things that like the rehearsals that we had because we would get so sidetracked. And so in a way, maybe like once things start picking up again, I feel like having like maybe less time together might actually be more productive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely used like those 2.5 hours very leisurely. We just enjoyed being with each other, and we did accomplish stuff, but definitely had those moments where it was just like, nope.
Yeah, I think we have a running joke now where when we've been playing something for a long time and we kind of know how it goes and stuff, and someone will miss a note in the melody or something, we'll all just like start cracking up and we'll just be like, could you just please get better? Like, or something like that.
Amy, should we tell the spit bubble story?
Oh, yeah. Do you want to tell her? Or is
Lara messed with it. You could tell it, Lara.
Are you talking about your spit bubble?
Her spit bubble.
My
story.
spit bubble.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
What was that? Was that in American Paris?
Yeah, we were recording. Oh no, it was in Refraction.
It was in Refraction, the second movement.
It was at the very end of the piece.
At the very end.
Yeah, it was like
the last note.
Like it was like our best take, and then Bridget is like the only one playing at the end, and then it was just like and like obviously we're trying not to laugh.
We stopped and I just stopped and I said, we can't use that.
And then of course it was
awful.
The best take out of that seems to happen to Bridget a lot. It's like
classic.
One thing happens for you and then the rest of the take is good when like other things happen for us and like other takes.
Well, we now have an audio sample of Bridget's spit bubble that's like super great. We're planning on putting it into things later, just for fun.
It's a new commission by Bridget.
It'll be the first recording on my website.
We actually, because we would just, in certain rehearsals decide to record a rehearsal just to kind of like, just to do it. And what ended up happening is like, we would get really bizarre snippets of sound, like in between our takes that, because we wouldn't turn the recorder off. And we were playing a piece this last year by Amanda Harburg. And so we just did a run of another piece by Amy Beach, and we had just played through that. And so we were all just kind of fiddling around to get to the Harburg. And so somebody was like, are we playing Harburg? And next thing you know, we go, Harburg. And then you hear an echo of everyone in the quintet going, Harburg, Harburg, Harburg. It's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah, we always record it on my phone because I have one of the little Shure plug-in mics for iPhone. And I had a lot of fun. I remember sitting in my office because I was like, I would just cut down the recordings and then share them so everyone could hear them. But then I came across that clip and so then from then on, I would always like upload the real recordings, and then I'd upload one little, like, if we had one little snippet of just like weirdness, like, like two people like fake arguing or like joking or whatever, I would just like isolate that and just put it in the recording drive with them. So like they would have this like 3-second recording that I would make everyone listen to, as well as the real rehearsal recording. So
yeah, you gotta have
light and fun.
Those are the best. I love those like little moments where you can just like laugh at yourselves and just have a good time. It makes chamber music so much more fun than like recording your solo stuff.
So moving away from like all of our seriousness. So one thing that we really want to make sure that we talk about is like, what have you guys individually been doing to keep yourselves sane and optimistic and positive during this time of quarantine? And so we were kind of curious, like, have any of you picked up like a new hobby or activity during this time, or been doing something unique in your practicing that has been keeping your interest in whatever ways have you as an individual been active during this time?
Yeah, I can take that one. One thing I've been doing is sort of taking advantage of learning other skills or learning from other people in the field that kind of have to do with music, but not necessarily performance. So there's like a couple masterminds happening. Like one is with Dana Fontenot, who's a sort of like a performance coach. She has a mastermind called From Idea to Profit. So about the business of music. There's another one too that Acropolis Quintet is holding that I'm part of, and they are also talking about sort of the business related music things and being entrepreneurial and taking something like a chamber group and really making it like really the center of your career and how you can do that and actually make money doing that, which they have really done in a great way, from commissioning to education to holding this mastermind. And they've done so many great things, and we look up to them a lot and we talk about them a lot so that we can learn. So I hope to bring back to our quintet and to all of my endeavors, all of the skills they give me during that mastermind. And yeah, I hope that after this pandemic, I just hope to have skills that I wouldn't necessarily have had time to work on if I were in full performing mode.
That sounds really cool. Are those things offered online?
Yes. So it's different for each one, but so the Acropolis Mastermind was something that you applied for, similar to you might apply for a summer festival. So I sent in like my resume and recordings and answered questions, and then they selected participants. It's mostly chamber groups actually that are doing it, and then a few soloists and a few like concert series type groups. For the other one I mentioned, From Idea to Profit, you didn't have to apply. You would just sign up for that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think for me, staying sane during this time, like I've gotten back a lot more into running, which like, I mean, you know how graduate school gets, like, especially that last year of the doctorate, it was like, I mean, just library or practice all the time. So it's been really enjoyable for me. And it actually feels like, even though you're only getting out of the house for like a little bit of time, it still kind of feels like, oh, thank God I can get out of the house now, for me, and kind of cathartic in that way. I've been watching a lot of documentaries, which I talked about in our original happy hour, but I love documentaries. So I've been watching a bunch of those just kind of on loop. I've watched one called Free Solo a bunch of times. I love, it's about free climbing, which is just climbing without ropes. It's about a guy who climbs El Capitan without ropes. And then I've been watching like First Position, which is about kids in ballet. And like, it's just crazy watching them, how intense they have to be to make it compared to us, you know, because like most of us don't even pick up our instruments till at least the age of 10, if not later. And then they're doing this from the time they're like 4, and they're very serious and like moving to Italy to study with certain ballet instructors and stuff like that. And then also I love Som. Have you guys seen that one? I don't know. It's about sommeliers and how they get certified, which they actually make a ton of money, which I didn't know. But apparently there's only like between 50 and 70 in the world, because it's master sommeliers, because it's so hard to pass the test.
Can you please, what streaming service is that one on specifically?
I think it's on Netflix. It's either on Hulu or Netflix.
I can't wait. I'm gonna watch.
Just Somm, SOMM. You should check it out. It's really good. It's crazy how much they have to know about wine. Like they'll taste wine or sniff it and they'll be like, this smells like tennis balls, so it must be from this region and this city and this year. And it's crazy. It's so good. You should check it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
what have you guys been doing?
I was about to say, like, anyone in our group can also answer this, because we didn't actually answer this kind of question in our last live stream.
Mm-hmm.
I think Daniela has a great answer to this. Not to put.
Oh man, Well, this is not music related, but I never learned how to ride a bike as a kid, and so I went and got a bike from the bike library here in Iowa City, which is basically like you can rent a bike for like 6 months to a year. And started learning, and now I'm like riding, which is amazing. It's still a little terrifying, I won't lie. Like going down hills is pretty terrifying. But I can actually like ride a bike now, which is like I feel like it's opening a whole new world for me because now I'm thinking like I can even like ride my bike to school or like to go somewhere, to go to a coffee shop. Like I don't have to be in my car all the time and or have to walk. So that's, yeah, it's like really cool. And it's a really fun way to just like get fresh air and go outside that, I'm usually like, well, I can go walk or I can go run and like exercise, which is fine. Like those things are fine. But riding a bike is just like a whole different experience. So yeah, that's been my big thing.
Oh, that's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, it's time. I'm 28 years old, so it was the perfect moment.
Anyone else in our group?
There's something. Oh wait, is it still our turn?
Yeah.
There's something that I'm really excited about that I haven't started yet, but so I got a new clarinet this year, and the place where I got it's outside Chicago. It's called Lisa's Clarinet Shop, and when I was there, like looking at clarinets, she told me about this online program that was going to be off for free during the summer, and it's like basic clarinet repair. So it starts in July, but it's like a series of, I think, basically a Zoom meeting for like a couple of hours once a week for the month of July. And you learn like how to replace pads on the instrument and how to like, replace like cork tenons and properly like take apart and put back together all like the key work and stuff on the instrument. And I'm super excited about that because like obviously it's a life skill that I will always need to have, and it ends up costing a lot of money. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, I saw Lisa was offering that. I mean, like, I think a basic instrument repair of your personal instrument should be something you would have to learn in college, but you just don't, It's like, I mean, I've used it so much. Like before I came to Tallahassee, we had a repair person who would come by Indiana, like, and just stay there for a week. And he would come every few months. And so I got really used to that. And then I came to Tallahassee and there's like nobody. So I had to like learn all this stuff on my own too. And I just feel like it's a life skill that you need to have, because what if one of your students' instruments breaks too? You can fix it right then instead of telling them to go to the music store, But yeah, I don't know why we don't learn it more. But that's really cool that you're doing that. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, you're totally right though. Like I wish it was a class, like even just learning the basic things like changing pads and stuff that could probably apply to all different instruments. Like everyone needs this.
Yeah.
So we should learn it.
I need to accept that I'm not always going to live in the same town as Amy, so I can't text her to fix my clarinet.
The amount of times we've spent at competitions hovered over your bass clarinet because it stopped working like the hour before. It's insane.
Yeah. And I had my bass clarinet stand in my bass clarinet. And
that
one time we had a recording session or like a concert or something that day, and it was stuck in my bass. I didn't know it was in my bass clarinet, and the low notes weren't coming out. So we spent like an hour just trying to like fix it, and thought I was gonna have to like leave rehearsal and go get it fixed. And then I just like realized like the thing just like fell out as I was putting my bass clarinet like back in its case, because that's the cool thing about the stand is that you store it in the bass clarinet. The bad thing is that you might forget it there.
Lara, do you own your own bass clarinet?
I do, yes. Yeah.
Goals.
Have any of you like picked up cooking? Like, have you guys found any like favorite recipes that you've been making or that you haven't made before, or any like discovered new favorite foods?
I started learning how to make like just basically meal prepping for the whole week, which I had never really done before, but I've learned how to make carnitas bowls like Chipotle. So now Lara can come over and have food at my place.
Nice.
She loves Chipotle so much.
And then you can fix my clarinet.
Yeah. At the same time.
Nice.
Oh, that's amazing. I actually find that one of the shows, so I've been watching, I feel really bad during quarantine. Like, I feel like I should be so much more productive. But, like, I find that, like, I've really used this time to, like, focus on, like, self-care, like, more than I ever have. Like, I've always, like, I actually, you know, I had a goal starting last November to, like, run a marathon. And so, like, I had all sorts of training plans, and I was, like, eating healthy and, like, all that sort of stuff. But, like, self-care in terms of, like, focusing on, you know, taking care of my skin and focusing more on what I'm eating and trying to be better about eating healthy. Because it's actually pretty surprising. Like, my first 2 months of training for this marathon, I probably ran, you know, probably over 200 miles. I mean, I was running, you know, an average of like 115, 120 a month. And I wasn't losing any weight though. And it was really surprising. And then I realized, like, okay, well, what am I eating on a day-to-day basis? And of course, like, you're in school. And it was also the holidays. It was like December. So like, what are you eating? And so I just made this conscious decision to start eating better. And ever since the quarantine has happened, I have to be so more aware of snacking and making sure that what I'm snacking on is not crap and not just like carbs and sugar. And I've actually started to love watching shows like Chopped. And then also shows like, I watched, this is gonna be really embarrassing, but I watched like Glow Up on Netflix, like about makeup and stuff. I actually found that to be like really exciting because I've also been sort of getting into makeup as I've been learning more about my skin type and like the oils and all that sort of stuff. And it's just been, yeah, it's been kind of an interesting journey. And I never would have done this otherwise. You know, Amy and I, we both just finished our doctorates. So doctors, but that last push is awful. And it really would have been like, I feel like if I had been in school during this last month and actually been in person for everything, I probably would have just fallen over from exhaustion. But because of being able to have these down hours of not traveling and not going anywhere and not being in a class physically, I was able to start being like, okay, Katie, what are you actually eating for breakfast today? And are you eating cereal or are you eating yogurt? Like all this sort of stuff. And I actually really appreciate it. I really appreciate this time more than I would have, I think, at any other time in my life. So really kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it was kind of a weird blessing in disguise in a way that for the end of the doctorates, we weren't in person because I felt the same way as you. Like I probably would have had a mental breakdown in front of a teacher for sure. I think people tell you how hard it is and you're like, yeah, it's hard, but I can handle it. It's hard, but I can handle it. And then you get in the moment and it's like, it's the hardest thing I've ever done was that last semester of the doctorate. But yeah, just being able to turn off my computer and stop writing for a second and take a nap or go on a walk or like do some self-care, take a bubble bath or something saved me in the end for sure.
Great. Now I'm terrified for my last year.
You're
It'll be
welcome.
awesome. You got it.
I'll remember to take a bubble bath.
Do it. Bath bombs. That's the way to go.
Does anyone have a pet they want to introduce in our last 5 minutes?
I do. She's right here. This is Dija.
We've been waiting for her premiere.
This is Dija. She's 2. I got her at the Fat Cat Cafe in Tallahassee when I moved there. And she's perfect. And
Aww.
the other cat, Boba, that's here right now. She's not here, unfortunately, but she's named after bubble tea, of course.
I love bubble tea.
Me too.
She's
There
like
is one
Jane
true
for
love.
film. She's a Zoom model.
I know. She'll only stay like this for like 30 minutes, but yeah.
She's so much better behaved than my cat. He crashes every single Zoom meeting. And then the one time I'm trying to call him in here, he's like, no, thank you. So he's just all white. He's cute, but he's obnoxious.
Sully, no.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I
Alright.
almost got Digit some computer glasses, you know.
All right, let me see if I can show you all. This is what I have right here.
Oh,
So cute.
Yep, this is Lola, and she likes to hide under the desk while I do anything at the desk, which at this moment is Zooming. And then over here is Nessie.
Aww.
So, no. All right.
Oh,
Okay. I'm being attacked. Okay. We also have 3 cats, but they are not as social.
Yeah, my cat is not as social either. And my dog will just like tear everything up. Like, I don't trust him to come in here right now. He's super cute. Max is 2, but he's very energetic. He'll probably like knock everything on my desk over as soon as he comes in.
Aw. Yeah. Definitely, I definitely think that the pets have enjoyed us being home a lot.
definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Max is like loving the attention. I don't know what he's going to do when we all go back to work or school. Jeff will probably be happy. He'll probably be able to get back Rain of the house and get control of the dog again, like he probably had when we were gone before.
Yeah. Amy, what are your plans for the fall now that you're done?
Good question. No, I'm gonna stay in Tallahassee and at least be based out of here. My fiance still has a semester of his doctorate left, so I'll get to go through that lovely process with him too. And then I'm gonna be obviously still involved with Civitasolis really heavily. And then I work as the social media coordinator, and I'm on the planning committee for the American Single Reed Summit, which is like a conference that happens every 2 years for clarinet and saxophone players. This will be the 2nd time. Yeah, Kim, you should come for sure. Bring the woodwind quintet. But it got postponed, so we're rescheduling it right now for the spring. So we're going to try and get that going as quickly as possible. So I'm sure I'll be really involved with that. And just local performances. I theoretically have performances lined up for the fall with a percussion duo that I'm also in. But I say theoretically, as we all know, it's kind of, iffy right now.
Yeah.
My last summer gig actually just got canceled. I was supposed to play with a ragtime orchestra in July, and it was going to be a lot of fun, but they just emailed us that they canceled, so that's kind of sad. But what about you?
Yeah, well, this entire last year, no, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I got a job teaching adjunct at Central College, which is in Pella, Iowa, which is from Des Moines, where I'm located now. It's only an hour from Iowa City, where I was before. It was an hour and 45 minutes. So I really appreciate that the commute is better this year. And I teach high brass there. Actually, this year I taught all brass, which was crazy because my husband also taught there for low brass, but he couldn't do it this year. So I taught a trombone student. But this fall, I picked up a job. I'm actually going to be the wind ensemble director at Grandview University here in Des Moines, and then also their brass teacher, all brass. So that's what I have coming up this fall. So I'm currently navigating, the higher education, what are we doing with our students scenario, but as a band director, which is a lot more complicated than just teaching lessons. So it's kind of an interesting process getting ready for that. And then I actually have a couple of auditions that I have on my radar, all of which are 2nd and 4th horn auditions. I've got Toledo Symphony, Boise Philharmonic, Illinois Symphony, and another one that's like Midwest area. I think it's Battle Creek or Kalamazoo in Michigan. So basically just staying busy as I can and still trying to be as active a player as possible. And of course, the wind quintet is top priority more than anything. So anything that we do is going to be the first thing that goes in my calendar.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome that you have all that stuff lined up, though. That's really, really fantastic. You guys have so many cool like regional orchestras around, I feel like.
We do, yeah. I mean, Iowa's got more orchestras than you think. That's the one thing. It's like most people think Iowa has very little going for it, but it actually has a couple of orchestras, and as we've discovered, communities that love music in any capacity. And so, we're really going to try to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys perform like in communities? I saw you had like a library event coming up. Is that true?
Yeah. It is. Yeah. Does somebody else want to, maybe Kim?
I can talk about that. So, before coronavirus stuff started, we were going to be doing a series, like a recital series at that library, which is the North Liberty Public Library. And they do specific programs for seniors and adults with disabilities. And so we were going to be doing like a sort of educational series geared toward that audience. And we don't really know what the rest of this semester will look like, but did our live end? Wait, sorry.
I just restarted it.
Okay.
For a second.
But in replacement of what was supposed to be our first of that performance in that series, we're going to be doing like a online Zoom sort of concert for them. So we've pre-recorded a couple of pieces that we're going to send for them for North Liberty to like share with their community. And then we're going to do basically like an instrument demonstration, each play a little solo, and then like talk, answer questions from like the audience, and just talk with them about what we do. And then hopefully after that, hopefully things get to normal soon and we can do the rest of that series as it was intended.
Yeah, hopefully. All right. So I apologize for those who were viewing. We restarted the live chat. It did cut out for a hot second. I think probably when Amy and I were just talking about what we were doing with our lives, which is fine. You can just, contact us and let us know if you are interested in hearing what we're doing. But we should probably wrap this up. We are really so thankful to all of the members of your ensemble for joining us today and talking to us about what you do and what you're doing. This was really a lot of fun. I mean, this was not work in any way. And that's kind of why I love what we do, is because it never feels like we're working.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having us. We loved being on and having this chat. And it's really nice that even though we're all separated and that all this is going on, that we can still all get together and have a good time like this and share music in this way.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hopefully we can have an in-person collaboration at some point.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I know we'd be down for sure.
Definitely.
Horn players and saxophones typically don't get along, just for the record.
We'll make it work.
But we'll make it work. All right. Well, thanks to everybody. And I'm going to end our feed now. So hopefully everyone has a good night. Grab something to watch and drink, have a good time. We'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.